When you think of Tampa Bay sports, you probably think of the Rays, the Bucks, and the Bolts. I mean, of course, those are the big three teams. After that, you got college teams like the University of South Florida, as well as University of Tampa or St. Leo. Then you've got smaller teams like the Rowdies, who play in Major League Soccer, a whole slew of minor league baseball teams. I mean, hell, we even had a basketball team at one point when the Toronto Raptors came down due to COVID. And then at the bottom of the barrel, you got the defunct teams. The teams who were around for a little bit, maybe had a little cult following, but ultimately faded away. Teams like the Tampa Bay Bandits, the Storm, the Mutiny, and the Tampa Bay Vipers.
The Tampa Bay Vipers were a professional football team in the XFL that played from February 2020 to March 2020. They played 5 games and lost 4 of them. They were probably the worst team in the league, and were all but killed when the pandemic came in and the league went bankrupt. That's it. For 5 weeks, Tampa Bay was home to spring football, but did anyone really even care? Well, for the 2 Vipers fans out there, this video is for you, as those 5 weeks were home to some of the most interesting action in the entire XFL. Can't really say much else except you just had to be there. This is the complete, unfiltered, extraordinary history of the Tampa Bay Vipers. Alright, let's set the scene here, starting with, what is the XFL? Well, with the NFL being as dominant as it is in America, naturally others wanted a share of the pie. And with the Super Bowl in February and the new season not starting until August, that left almost half the year open for spring football to shine. You'd think it would be a golden opportunity, but there's been plenty of leagues that have come and gone over the years. The Trans-American Football League, the United States Football League, the World League of American Football, they've all tried, but none have found any meaningful success. I guess even in the early 2000s it still seemed good enough to try. At least that's what good old Vince McMahon thought, as he looked to combine football with the edge of wrestling.
Want to play real football? My kind of football? Raw survival in the mud and snow. No domes, no fair catches, no phony grass. It's harsh, it's bruising, so it's beautiful.
No fair catches, nicknames on jerseys, and a scramble for the ball to determine possession instead of a coin toss. Yeah, that was totally a great idea. Thus, in 2001, the XFL was born. What does the X stand for? Why, extreme! Of course. I mean, it is the early 2000s. Results were about as expected. The league had horrible ratings, networks weren't happy, and the on-field product was dull at best. I mean, at least they got to have a full season, where the Los Angeles Extreme defeated the San Francisco Demons to win the championship. Yes, those were the real names. And that was it. The league went bankrupt shortly after. Rest in peace, the original XFL. Almost 2 decades later, and good old Vince is thinking about bringing the XFL back for another shot. And in 2018, he announces the revival of the league. Hoping to modernize it to get more people to watch the damn games, they got rid of most of the dumb gimmicks from before. And with the Alliance of American Football also on their tails, they had to act fast to get viewers in. In December, the host cities were announced, and on August 21st, 2019, the Tampa Bay Vipers were born. Why Vipers? Well, there's a lot of snakes in Florida, I guess. Shout out to the assholes who brought pythons here. At least it's better than the New Jersey Hitmen or the Orlando Rage. Seriously, what the hell were these names? Were people excited? Not really. Most just thought the name was kinda silly. Hell, Steven Ruiz from USA Today even had this to say. Keep this in mind for later, okay? It's unclear how much of a chance this team even had to be successful in the first place. I mean, they had to compete with the Bucks and the USF Bulls, Although both of those teams were kinda also bad during this time anyway, so maybe they had a chance. Well, why don't we meet the team, shall we? At quarterback, the main man was Taylor Cornelius, Oklahoma State grad who had an okay college career. I mean, you gotta understand, this is the XFL. None of these guys are really that good anyway. Aaron Murray was also brought in, as he had played well in Georgia. The other candidate for QB was hometown favorite Quinton Flowers, who played well for USF, and was also an effective running back. Devion Smith was another effective running back from Michigan, as well as Jock Patrick. Nick Trustel was seen as the key tight end, and they had 9 receivers to choose from, including Shontavis Jones, Reese Horn, Jalen Tolliver, and Antonio Callaway, who was currently under suspension in the NFL for substance abuse. The O-line was flexible, as many guys were also cross-trained for other positions, and the defense was filled with young guys looking to make their mark. They got a whole slew of linebackers and D-backs to choose from, and Andrew Franks was to serve as the team's kicker. Finally, Mark Trestman was named the head coach. I mean, someone's gotta lead this mishmash of players, right? An okay roster. Not terrible, just okay. Many thought they would be mediocre in their first year, though the thought of playoffs weren't entirely out of the conversation. Alright, enough of this build-up. Let's play some goddamn football! One week after Super Bowl 54, the Vipers took the field in their first ever game against the New York Guardians. On a cold New Jersey day at MetLife Stadium, where about 17,000 people filled the stands, and where you could still faintly see the NFL logo on the field, the Vipers looked to play ball, and immediately gave up a big return on the opening kickoff. A few minutes later, they were already losing. Okay, great start, guys. But don't worry, the offense is here to save the day. It was Murray who got the first chance to lead the team down the field, and they would respond with a big interception. In the second, the defense got burned big time as New York would score again. But the Vipers would finally get something going as they marched down the field and set up for a field goal from Franks. I mean, hey, at least they got on the board. Or not. And then they got intercepted again. Well, yeah, the Vipers got crushed in their first game. It took them nearly 3 quarters to finally put points on the board. And that was all they would get, as they would go on to turn the ball over on a fumble that would be recovered for a touchdown. Murray was less than stellar on the day, going 16-34 with 2 interceptions, as he was brutally outmatched by the defense as he was sacked 3 times. Flowers got a little bit of action as well, going 1 for 2 and rushing for 34 yards. At least it's something. The offense sputtered when it mattered most, as they went into the red zone 3 times and came away with 3 points total. And the defense was abysmal, as they got cooked all game, giving up big gains. Of course, there was also some extracurricular bullshit, as Ricky Walker was ejected from the game after punching someone. So congratulations to him for being the first XFL player to be ejected. Hooray! In typical Tampa sports fashion, they put up the most offensive yards and gave up the fewest defensive yards in the league. Now, if only they could fucking score! Well, if anything, it's clear Murray probably isn't the answer, as in practice he didn't even take any snaps due to a foot injury. With that, Cornelius was given the nod to start in Week 2 against the Seattle Dragons. Maybe he can bring better success? God damn it. Well, at least Cornelius was able to get his team going a little later, and the defense played better. And look! A lead! The Vipers have a lead! In the second half, the Dragons once again have the ball. Oh! Yes! Let's fucking go! Tarvaris McFadden gets the pick and runs it almost 80 yards to the house. And suddenly, the Vipers have a 9-0 lead. Just in time for the defense to get roasted again, as they gave up a touchdown almost immediately after. At least they stopped the two-pointer. Late in the third, the Vipers once again look to go down the field. It's one thing to have one bad quarterback, but if the Vipers were known for anything, it's the fact that they had to deal with a gigantic battle of mid at quarterback. Flowers and Cornelius both played subpar today, with that mind-boggling interception from Flowers and Cornelius doing nothing with 1st and goal on the fucking 1-yard line! And to make matters even worse, they muffed the field goal try. Just 2 weeks in, and the Vipers were already looking like the worst team in the whole league. They once again outgained their opponent, and once again proved to be absolutely feeble in the red zone. Cornelius didn't fare much better than Murray, going 16 for 27 and also throwing 2 picks, and it was clear that the team needed to fix something, and fast. Flowers, barring that horrible interception, did contribute well in the time he did get to play. But as the hometown kid, fans were clamoring for him to be the new starter. I mean, 3rd time's the charm, I guess. Well, the fans would not get their wish, as Cornelius would be named the starter once again as they prepared for their home opener against the Houston Roughnecks, who came into this game at 2-0. Yeah, this isn't looking good. As Cornelius took the field in front of 18,000 Vipers fans, he initially showed signs of promise as he led the team down the field to score first in a field goal. But the defense would give up a touchdown as Houston ran down the field with ease.
Racing down the sideline is who else but Cam Phillips?
I guess I should also clarify, in this XFL you could go for a 1, 2, or 3-point conversion, each with varying distances to the goal. And naturally, the Vipers gave up a 3-pointer. I mean, come on, this is the same defense that is running into each other instead of blocking the defender. Like, what are we doing here? Well, Flowers would get the offense going, as he put up a great drive with a nice catch from Talivor, and a huge gain by Devion Smith to set up the team in the red zone. Finally, after all that futility, Flowers would run it in himself for the first offensive touchdown of the season. If there was any doubt before, there was none now, as it seemed Flowers was the answer to the QB crisis. However, Trestman would continue to use Cornelius frequently, as he led his own drive down the field late in the second after the defense folded once again. He would cash in a touchdown of his own, and at the end of the half, both teams sat tied at 18. And yet, despite that positive momentum, in the second half, Cornelius struggled once again, and this time, the crowd would begin to turn on the team, chanting, "We want Flowers." With the entire crowd behind him, it must have been hard getting shafted continuously, but if the team could at least squeak out a win, it would be worth it. Both teams would score a touchdown in the third, and Franks would kick a field goal early in the fourth to give the Vipers a 1-point lead. The defense would predictably give up yet another touchdown, and Cornelius would get another try down the field, as they would march all the way to the 2-yard line, where once again, they went 4 and out. God damn it. At least the defense was able to hold them off, so Cornelius and the Vipers have one more chance to... Yet another winnable game slipping away, as the Vipers would fall to 0-3. And if people were mad before, this game-sealing interception only added more fuel to the fire. Why is Cornelius starting? Where is Flowers? Why is he not playing? Why? I mean, maybe they've got a point. Like, why don't we see what the man himself has to say about this? the man himself has to say about this. Hey, where's Flowers? Quentin Flowers is gone. When the team needed him most, he was a no-show at practice, citing personal reasons, meaning they were left with Cornelius to take the helm once again. If this didn't seem like a gut punch, I don't know what will, as this team that had been floundering all season and finally thought they had their guy was suddenly out of the picture only days later. It's plainly obvious as to why. It's because he was frustrated about his lack of playing time. Understandably, many fans also were, and with him out, many began to lose interest in the team as a whole. He was the guy, the reason to watch Vipers football, and now he's gone. A quarterback controversy, a pretty bad defense, and a head coach on the scorching seat. Sounds like a typical day for Tampa football. But nonetheless, they still had to drag their asses out for Week 4 against the DC Defenders. They needed to get something together. They needed to show that they could actually play decent football. They proved last week that they could at least compete, but now they need an actual win. They need to win. Well, the team was able to put it all together. Cornelius played a better game, going 24-31, and didn't get sacked a single time. Ain't that great? Jacques Patrick got to get on the board in a touching moment to honor his father after he passed away a couple days before. There was a blocked field goal, Daniel Williams got his time to shine on the ground game, and a big run by Cornelius himself to bring one in. And the defense finally showed up as the Vipers came out huge. And bring out the champagne, baby, because the Vipers have won a game. They shut them out 25-0, baby. The season is back on, man. And if the Vipers can get a win against the LA Wildcats, they'll be well on their way to turning things around. See, I told you this team had potential. Now they're finally playing up to it. And I guess it seems that the quarterback kerfuffle has finally come to an end, as with this game, Cornelius emerged as the definitive #1 pick. Murray didn't really have a chance. He was injured for a while, and his Week 1 performance left much to be desired. As for Flowers, well, he ended up returning to the team a few days later, and promptly requested a trade. Well, there goes the local pull. But hey, if the team can keep winning, they can still maintain a core fan base. And as they travel to LA, they prepare for perhaps the most pivotal game of the season, and the culmination of the Tampa Bay Vipers as a whole. Hey, what's this virus thing going around? It doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Just ignore it for now. Things started out great, with the Vipers taking the ball away on the first play of the game, which led to a field goal to put Tampa on the board. On the next drive, Patrick would once again make his presence known with another touchdown. A bad snap by the Wildcats led to another turnover. And early in the second, Cornelius would keep it for another score. Yes, man, yes! This is the team I knew these guys could be. 42 unanswered points going back to last week. The offense is firing on all cylinders. The defense is holding firm. The Vipers are legit, baby. Never mind the fact that the Wildcats were able to get on the board. They proceeded to give the ball away yet again. And Tolliver would make the sliding catch to make it 24-6 towards the end of the second.
Made by Jalen Tolliver. 16-yard touchdown pass.
Hey, we here right now. We here, baby.
Man, doesn't it feel good to be a winner? Yeah, you've seen this story before. You've probably seen it hundreds of times by now. A team gets a big lead, and then they get complacent, stupid shit happens, and their advantage gets whittled away. If anything summarizes the Vipers well enough, it's that they could have had it all, but they just kept getting in their own damn way. Comeback wins aren't that crazy. Blowing a big lead isn't really that crazy. But for it to happen to this team, who's been down on their luck for so long, riddled by poor quarterback play and awful defense, and who just now finally began to show signs of solace, it just seems cruel. Before the half was over, it was already 24-20, like they were in a hurry to make this game one for everyone to remember. A missed field goal, another big gain, and an interception, and now they're losing 33-24. And then
Cornelius lost the football. LA's found it. Boogie Roberts, boogie on down. A 23-yard return for the big fella.
this is the Vipers, and this is how they will be known. But there's still hope, as Reese Horn hauls in this sliding catch to make it a one-score game. And once again, Cornelius has one more chance to lead his team down the field to victory. Everything that's happened, all the misery and the pain, not just from today, but from the past few weeks, can be washed away. But if you had any hope for this sorry excuse for a team, you haven't been paying attention. Because this is Vipers football, and this is their legacy.
3rd down 4. Cornelius, end zone, intercepted! Jack Tocho!
On March 8th, 2020, the Vipers, in the primetime slot as the last game of the week, blew a 24-6 lead and dropped to 1-4. Ultimately, they are who we thought they were. After the game, Trestman came out to address the people, and he still remained optimistic.
Really proud of our guys. We played our tails off, but the fact of the matter is we are 1-4 football team, and we think we're an up-and-coming too. We have a very good football team, but we are 1-4. And from here on out, we'll be defined by the second half of the season and next week against St. Louis.
he still believed the team had time to change, to right the ship and turn things around. Throughout everything, he still thought this team was a winner. And so, they buckled down, pulled themselves up, and got back to work. Four days later, the team is getting ready for practice in Plant City. Then, they get word of a player on the Dragons testing positive for COVID. And that was it. Just like that, their season had come to an end. There was no hope for bringing it back. Not with empty stadiums, not with pushing games back. It was over. A month later, the league announced they were suspending operations. Players were paid for the remainder of their contracts, staff was laid off, and the league had no plans to return in 2021. There would be no redemption story. There would be no comeback. The Vipers were dead.
I know I've mentioned the pandemic a lot in my other videos, but at least those leagues were able to bounce back after what happened. I mean, sure, these are titanic corporations. They're not failing unless there's some great catastrophe. But the Rays, Bucks, and Bolts all got to experience great success even despite all these troubling times. For the XFL and the Vipers, who were already struggling to stay afloat as it was, the pandemic was basically the final nail in the coffin for the end of spring football.
And yeah, that's it. There's no real message here. There's no, oh, this is why the Vipers were special and should be appreciated. No. The Vipers were a bad football team that floundered about for 5 weeks and was then hunted down and killed like the pythons in the Everglades. Of everything here, I lament how this ended for the players. The people who never really had a shot in the NFL and found their home in pro football here. This scrappy bunch of guys might have seemed like a mess of a team, but man, they deserved better than this. Their last moments also coincided with the final moments of the whole league, as that game was the last one ever played. The end of the XFL was signified, fittingly, with an interception from Cornelius in the end zone. And ain't that just the perfect way to go out? So, who cares, right? The Vipers came, lived, didn't really thrive, and died. They are the afterthought of all afterthoughts in Tampa sports. They had the third lowest attendance out of everybody. They had a whole mess of a situation at quarterback. They had a rivalry with a team that they never even played, and whose fans were mocked for pooping standing up. Even if the pandemic never happened, would the Vipers have found success here? With Tom Brady signing with the Bucks, any chances of forming a fan base in the area just got exponentially harder. Say they ended up finishing the year and played the next. Do you really think Tampa fans are going to go out to see Vipers football a week after seeing the Bucks win the Super Bowl in their own stadium? Maybe they were doomed to fail, but we'll just never know. Because the Vipers, like the rest of the league, were cast off into the darkness. They were not winners. They were not a success story. But they were themselves. They were the Tampa Bay Vipers. And for that, I think they should at least be remembered as the time Tampa Bay was home to spring football. For 3 years, the Vipers lay in their grave. Their story had come to a close, or so we thought. But things were not over for this plucky team. There was nothing left for them here. So, like the first settlers of the old days of America, they gathered all that they could carry, and they headed west.